1, 2, 3, 4.
My name's Bobby Holland. I'm a music maker from Nashville, Tennessee. Mostly I produce and mix records, but I also play. I have a band. I have two bands. One band's called The Daybreaks. It's an indie pop band. Another band is called Thirst. It was one of those things where they kind of sat me down like in the movies and they said, "I'm sorry, Bobby, but you're going blind." And I wasn't sad. I was validated. How do I start? Okay, another sort of defining thing about me is I have this degenerative retina condition called Retinitis Pigmentosa. Basically, that means my retinas are slowly dying, and sucks. Going blind sucks, but it really makes me appreciate the things I do get to see. I've probably been legally blind since I was about 5 years old, but I had this. I don't know, had this really bad doctor, and he always told me that I could see just like everybody else. I'd go into the doctor and say, "Hey doc, I think I might be night blind," which now I know is the first symptom of most degenerative retina conditions. And if you go to a retina specialist, if you go to any eye doctor and you say, "I think I might be night blind," or "I'm having trouble with night vision," my understanding is that the first thing they should do is send you to a retina specialist, because you could very well have a degenerative retina condition. So I would go to the doctor once a year for my checkup, and every single year I'd say, "Hey, I think I'm night blind." And he'd turn off the lights in the exam room and shine a light on the eye chart and ask me to read it. And I'd be like, "Dude, it's got a light on it. I can see it. I can't see you, but I can see the eye chart." And he'd say, "I'm sorry, Robert, this is our night vision test." And he would tell me that I could see just like everybody else, and he'd send me home. And so eventually, after complaining about this for years, he started taking my parents into the other room and saying, "Hey, I think Bobby just wants attention." And so I'd go in there. Like one time I ran into a stop sign like long ways, and I cut my face all the way down. I looked like a supervillain, and I was all bloody. And I went in there, and I think that was the year he said, "You need to go to a psychiatrist." And so he told me nothing was wrong with my vision, but I just wanted attention, which was confusing to me because I knew something was wrong with my vision. But when you're a kid and a doctor says nothing's wrong with you, you believe the doctor. So I grew up thinking that something was really wrong, but he said nothing was really wrong. So it was just really confusing. And so I grew up doing all kinds of stuff that blind people should never do. I went backpacking a lot. I was a really serious cyclist. I had a driver's license for a number of years. I had 16 car accidents. None of them were that bad. Some of them were fairly bad, but that's the thing. When you're going blind, but a doctor says you're not, well, if he says you can see like everybody else, you go get a driver's license like everybody else. And so 16 car accidents later, I decided I probably shouldn't be driving. But anyway, eventually I got diagnosed with retinitis pigmentosa, and it was one of those things where they kind of sat me down like in the movies and they said, "I'm sorry, Bobby, but you're going blind." And I wasn't sad. I was validated. This thing's cool. Have you seen these? It's a distortion pedal that's all digital distortion. So it does like low bit rate. Like you can do like 8-bit electric guitar, which is really fun. It felt amazing to be finally, decades later, be validated that in fact, something is wrong with my vision. And in fact, the first thing, the retina specialist, he shined it. You can see where your retina is kind of dead if you shine a light in your eye. And he shined a flashlight in my eye. And he came in the room, he said, "Hey Bobby, nice to meet you, I'm Dr. So-and-so." And he shined a light in my eye. And the first thing he said, he goes, "Man, I bet you can't ever see handshakes." And I just cried. Like it was the first moment of validation where someone goes, "Man, you can't see the thing that you've always known you can't see." And handshakes, as a musician meeting people all the time, my peripheral vision's super narrow, tunnel vision sort of comes from this condition I have. So I have super narrow tunnel vision. So if you put your hand out, I've never ever looked at someone's face and been able to see their hand for a handshake. And so inadvertently I would offend people a lot by leaving their handshake hanging, until I learned about this, and then I decided I better go for the handshake first. And now I'm a hugger, so I love hugs. But anyway, that's a small glimpse into the number of years of validation and learning actually how bad my vision was this whole time. Because it's one thing to be like, to someone say you're going blind, but then you have to learn how blind you already are, because I can't see what you see. I see what I see. I don't know what you see, so I don't know how bad I am in comparison until someone says you're really bad in comparison. Then I have to figure out. It took years. I still learn about that. And a really, really exciting moment, maybe the most exciting moment in my whole life, is this past April 2017. I participated in a clinical trial where it's a stem cell clinical trial, very experimental, and where they take bone marrow out of your hip bone in your lower back and extract stem cells from it and put the stem cells in your eyeballs, and hopefully the goal is that the stem cells will mutate into healthy retina cells and improve vision. Or sort of B goal is that they will maintain your vision where it currently stands, so it will stop the degeneration, at least temporarily. It's so experimental, they don't really know, but yeah, I had that done last April 2nd, and I've had some vision improvement, and it's really crazy. It's wild. Like every day something happens, like a little detail that I couldn't see before, and now I can, and I get fairly emotional over it, because it's just so freaking exciting. I have magic. I'm a walking science experiment with magic science stem cells in my eyeballs, and I'm also a pretty big nerd, so I really like the science behind it, and I feel like even if I didn't have this eye condition, I'd still be very into the science. So I like talking to the study director about the genetics and about how the stem cells work and what they do, and all of their research. It's just so cool. It is so cool. And I guess it's so experimental, they didn't know if it was going to make me better or worse or do nothing. Being that it was so experimental, it was terrifying, because I could go in there and I could just hand them the last few % of my vision and never get it back. I could have walked out of there totally blind and never seen anything again, or I could have walked out of there like I did, which is blind for a little while just to recover from the surgery, and then my vision slowly gets better over time, and no one knows how much better it will get. It's still pretty horrible, but it's way better than it was last April. And I guess the thing that's terrifying, to not know what you're getting yourself into, willingly submit to something that could have somewhat catastrophic results. But the way I looked at it is, if I don't do it, it's not going to work. It's really not going to work if I don't try. And I only had 3 or 4% of my vision left, so if I lost all of it, well, it's really not that much. I was kind of prepared to be blind at that point anyway. And the most exciting thing was just to be part of the science. So even if it did nothing at all, I'm still hopefully helping the research, and hopefully it will help me and many other people like me in the future. That this stem cell research, especially for degenerative retina conditions, is like incredible right now. Anyway, that's been a massive part of my life for the last year or so.
For the day breaks, we're here to do a live at 35. We're going to surprise some folks on a plane. They don't know what's about to happen. If I'm honest, neither do we. That's where the fun begins. Our musical influences all across the board, but mostly we're from Nashville, so all of our best friends are really what sharpen our sword and influence us. We have an amazing community of people there. Do a little concert on our way to Los Angeles.
I woke up this morning and thought, today I'm going to do something I've never done, and I also probably won't ever get to do it again.
We were like in a room and we were like, all right, let's box out like what we think the space will be that we'll have to work in. How weird is our lives that like the most important thing in our week is like, how can we make these songs sound good on an airplane? Right?
I have a studio home base in Nashville called Pentaveret. It's a 5-room studio complex, and it's really cool because it's just this little like co-op sort of thing. It's just me and some friends, and there's 5 studios in there, and sometimes we work together, sometimes we don't. Everybody in there is like just crazy talented, so we all want to work together as much as we can. Also, in this studio we're in right now, last year I worked on a record for a really great artist named ZZ Ward. Her newest record's called The Storm. We did some here, and then I did a good bit of stuff at my studio in Nashville. But that was actually the first time I was in this studio, and here we are again. One of the cooler things I've done in the last year or two is I worked on the newest Kesha record. We did, I don't know, a number of days of overdubs at Pentaveret, and it's exciting because she just got nominated for 2 Grammys. So it's the first project I've ever worked on that's been Grammy nominated, and so that's been really fun. Let's see some of the cool stuff I've been doing lately. Oh, mostly Maggie Rose. I've been working with this girl named Maggie Rose, and maybe the best singer I've ever worked with in my life. She's unbelievable. So the biggest band is 16 people, and most of the songs are a 12-piece band, and it's really cool because Maggie's just standing there right in front of the drums, and we're just playing. We'll do a couple takes per song, and we just use one. There's no doctoring, there's no tuning, there's no editing. It's real music, and she's good enough, and the band's good enough to like. It's a special thing these days to have a group of people that are good enough to pull that off in a time when music is becoming more and more artificial and more edited and tuned and doctored, as I call it. I've also been working on a new record for the Daybreaks, which is the other kind of thing I was talking about, where it's real overdubby, and so we sort of write a song and we go in and we'll kind of do things piece by piece and get creative. And the thing about the Daybreaks that the reason we kind of accidentally ended up being a band in the first place is because it's co-fronted by a guy and a girl named Heather Bond and Caleb Jones, and they have this really unique chemistry where they sort of bring the vibe of the live in a room thing a little bit to the Daybreaks, because they actually sing at the same time right in front of each other in the same room. And same thing with them. They're not doctored or tuned or any of that. But the music is pretty produced, pop music. But the vocals, we really try and have some sort of raw emotion and not overproduce the vocals. And I like to think that translates in the music.
We were so excited and so anxious and really just excited to see how it would all pan out.
This is the coolest show we've ever played.
Yeah, this is like way awesome.
It's just true.
Wake up, get in line, take a number, hypnotize, follow, don't you sway. Lock your lips and heart away. Oh, I'm not just a machine. My heart is moving me everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I gotta be free. Don't you come after me anywhere I go. Anywhere I go.
Also, one of the more exciting things I'm working on is a record for this good friend of mine named Will Pugh. Will actually has a room at Pentaveret. He's a lead singer in this really great rock band called Cartel that did pretty well for a while, and they're not really doing much anymore, so he's doing his own solo thing. And it's like Cartel kind of ended up lumped in this sort of pop punk world, but this is absolutely not going to be that. It's sort of got one foot in the Radiohead world and one foot in the Bjork world and one foot in, I don't know, some other weird fun thing. And so we've been having a whole bunch of fun with that, and we kind of stopped over the winter, but we're about to resume that project, and it's going to be so cool.
I dodged a bullet, I dodged a bullet. Oh, I'm not just a machine. My heart is moving me everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I gotta be free. Don't you come after me anywhere I go. Anywhere I go, I'm not just a machine. My heart is moving me everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, I gotta be free. Don't you come after me anywhere I go. Anywhere I go.
Thanks so much, y'all. We really, really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Have a nice flight.